Dear Dr. Sharice, my opportunity to take a lot of the questions that you all try to slip in my DMs and do something constructive.
Dear Dr. Sharice, are y'all ready for this?
The goal is for us to have honest, courageous conversations, pretty much with no topic off the table.
Let's go.
Today's listener question is from Audrey from North Carolina. Really great question. She's asking, how do you verbalize boundaries with emotionally manipulative parents who are clueless of their behavior? Let me be honest. My first initial thought was, but are they? Are they clueless of their behavior? No knock, Audrey, on your specific parents. But I think it just really gets us into the whole dynamic of, are people who are emotionally manipulative completely clueless of their behavior? So before I answer that question, I want to get into that for a moment. There's a dynamic where we consciously engage in certain patterns of behavior and patterns of thought and the way we're acting. And then there's a dynamic where we may be subconsciously responding in that way. But even if we're doing it subconsciously, somewhere along the way, it's because it's become so much of a habit and no one has forced us to change that it becomes our normal. But it does not mean that we're not aware. We all have choice. Why am I bringing that up? It's important for you to be able to understand that even people who are pleasantly emotionally manipulative are aware of what they're doing. I think that it can be so challenging because when it involves like a spouse or a parent or someone that we deeply love and care about and that we're close to, there is this conflict where our brain is designed to think well of the people that we love. That's how we build connection and attachment to them. So we have to kind of tell ourselves certain things about them, or we want to tell ourselves certain things about them, or we've had these great experiences with them. So part of us is like, I really love them and they're really amazing. And they're such a great part of my life. Maybe not all emotional manipulative parents or spouses are that way, but specifically parents. But there's this aspect of you want to think the best of them. I am not encouraging you not to think well of your parents. But regardless of the situation, if you have an emotionally manipulative parent, and you might actually be the person in the relationship that has more knowledge and more emotional intelligence, you're going to have to break out of the part of you that doesn't necessarily want to see wrong. That's not for everybody, but for some. And also recognize that there is no way to verbalize those boundaries without them feeling some kind of way. And yet they also don't necessarily care if you feel some kind of way when they're asking you to do something that may benefit them more than it benefits you. Emotionally manipulative parents can look all different kinds of ways. Some of them are just toxic, downright demanding, and entitled. But some can be loving, some can be charming, some are what I call pleasant with conditions, which means they are extremely pleasant as long as everyone is doing exactly what they want. That is a form of emotional manipulation if your parent is engaging with you or your family in that way. And let me just give a little caveat. Maybe it's your in-laws that are in this situation. So let's say if you have a partner and that individual's parents are that way, whoever is the parent of that emotionally manipulative set, please protect your spouse. Please protect the individual that's in your life that has not grown up in those dynamics, that is also becoming a casualty of the boundaries, of the verbal boundaries that you may not want to keep. You understand what I'm trying to drop down? when you have emotionally manipulative parents in your life, no matter whose side that they're on, if you are not both committed to what's the line between we try to keep relationship, but also wanting to make sure that you're not in a situation where you're ignoring the needs of your family in order to meet theirs, you have to be on the same page and you have to be talking. So know that when you stay silent and you don't communicate those things to your parents, it doesn't just impact you, you're also impacting the other people in your life, whether that's your partner, your spouse, your children, or whoever it may be. Here's what happens when parents are emotionally manipulative, or some examples of what that might look like for those of you who might be like, I kind of feel that way about my parents sometimes. And I wonder, they play the victim. So somehow, some way, they're always the victim. Well, I was just trying to do this, and I don't know why you always get so upset with me. Gosh, some people would love to have a father in their life who would love you the way I do, or after all I've done for you. The other thing is that they blame others for their issues. So, emotionally manipulative parents may apologize, but there's always a but and an and. There's always, well, I know that was happened, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. But if you wouldn't have, the moment you hear but or and, but she, but they, that is not an apology. An apology just ends with, I am sorry that I fill in the blank. That's a whole nother lie, but I want you to really understand it is so important for you to recognize and hear when you've been manipulated. And it's hard when you've also grown up managing those dynamics. So they play the victim, they blame others for their issues. The other thing that they will often do is induce guilt. They will try to make you feel guilty for not meeting their needs. So, something that I want to say that can be hard to acknowledge is there can be little instances or some instances where you have emotionally manipulative parents who are actually bordering on codependent, meaning you are their everything and they are not letting you out of that role. And so part of why they are pushing on you in whatever ways that they can is that their stability and their connection is dependent on their connection to you. And so whenever you do anything that pushes towards your own autonomy and independence, it feels like a threat. It feels like a threat to their identity and who they need to be by being in your life. So cue the guilt. They can also be passive aggressive. They can say things and say other things all at the same time, and then it kind of goes back into that cycle, and that's just an example. Here are three things to consider when it comes to, can you even really verbalize what you need to? This means, what does it take for you to turn the knowledge that I'm about to give you into power? That is going to be recognizing that your own mental fitness, your own level of health and strength and awareness is going to have a lot to do with what you can communicate to them. Three conditions to consider. One is, if you're too exhausted to maintain the boundaries that are needed with your parents, that's going to be a challenge. And we don't often put that together. Part of why you need to be in a good place in terms of your own well-being and making sure that you are well rested and that you are balanced and that your stress is low is so that you are ready, because emotionally manipulative parents are waiting. They're waiting for you to be at your point of exhaustion, at your point of stress, of that difficult day, and they know, woo, doo, 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 here's my moment, here's my moment. And what they do is they kind of come in and make it seem like they're trying to make things better, but they really have an ulterior motive in mind. And before you know it, you're caught. Another condition to consider is, sometimes, depending upon how you have been raised or what you believe is right, you're not used to responding in ways that actually honors your needs. So aside from your time with the emotionally manipulative parent, you really want to work on honoring your needs in small and tangible ways in other areas of your life so that then when those big moments come, you feel like, okay, I got it. Now I am ready because I'm familiar, I'm well versed in honoring my own needs, and I know how important and how valuable it is. Third, it may not just be you anymore that's being impacted. So I always want you to consider when you are thinking about not verbalizing, or if you're thinking about backing down, kind of like I was talking about earlier, who pays the price for you staying silent? Even aside from you, if you have other people connected to you, remember that those dynamics not only set up issues for the family, but the people around you are also watching. So, for example, if you are a parent, you're then teaching your children or modeling for them non-verbally and really kind of showing them what not to do or what they shouldn't be doing, honestly. So, it's important for you to recognize what's the message that you're giving to the rest of your family. Let me give you an example. If we are in a family situation and we allow a set of parents to be emotionally manipulative and hold the family hostage around what they do and what they say and how they can do it, then we are also by default teaching the other people around us, don't honor your needs unless it's okay with everybody else. That can be an issue, and that can put your children, your partner, your spouse, whoever in really difficult situations, just like it has probably at times put you in different situations. Also recognize whenever I talk about these instances, it's always going to be along a continuum, which means that it's not going to be maybe as extreme as I'm talking about in any situation. But if it causes a response in you, if there's any part of you that's resonating with, oh my gosh, yes, this is what I feel from my parents, but then I feel bad and I feel like because they're this age that I should do everything that they want me to do and they make me feel terrible. All of that is still a level of manipulation. If we're in good, healthy relationships with our parents, our no should be no, and there is no guilt that follows. So, 3 phrases that you can use when you're trying to verbalize your boundaries with emotionally manipulative parents. And I encourage you to kind of take these and play around with them and go like, how does this sound to me? Or do I need to tweak it a little bit or come up with others of your own? 1, I'd like to think about what's best and get back to you. Emotionally manipulative people/parents, one of the things that they try to do is they try to get you to make a very quick decision that's based on emotion. And if you're like, I just want to get out of this, let me just say what they want, then all of a sudden you go back and you think about it. That wasn't what you needed, but you didn't give yourself time to think about it. So you don't have to give an immediate answer. I'd like to think about what's best and get back to you. That lets them know I will consider your request, but I'm also going to consider my needs, the needs of my family, if you have one, and then I will get back to you. And it also helps them really hopefully reduce the part of them that's pushing you for that immediate answer. Another phrase, that's not going to work for us, but we can. So you're immediately letting them know this is not going to work because when you know, you know. There's really no need when you already know to stop and continue going back and forth. That's not going to work for us, but we can, but we're willing to. So give and offer another alternative, which again, the hope is to help train them to, you're not always going to get what you want. Here's what we're willing to do. And healthy families compromise. It doesn't mean it's a sacrifice. Compromises shouldn't be a sacrifice when we love each other. There's an element of sacrifice to it, but if it's entirely a sacrifice, then somebody is not really winning in the situation. And number 3, this is more focused on emotionally manipulative parents that are trying to insert themselves into parts of your life that are not their business. And the last phrase I want to give you, thank you for your concern about X, but I've got it from there. Emotionally manipulative parents, again, can often try to come in with the whole concept around, I'm here to help you and I'm here to support you. And you might have just reached out to them and you're talking about your day and they're trying to, again, insert themselves into things that are not their business. I've given you 3 phrases. Take those phrases, literally memorize them. One of the things that we kind of underestimate is the importance of practicing what we want to say before we say it. We call that playing the script, right? When you are creating those scripts for yourself and kind of playing them out, looking at yourself, seeing how it feels to say them, using them in your language, then the goal is when it comes time and you know this is the moment, you're starting to feel hot and sweaty and all that energy towards what you need to say to your parents, then you're ready because you have practiced and you've rehearsed, and the only element that's in place is execution. Take a listen to this as many times as you need to and really consider the loving and amazing parents in your life, but where things may also be crossing the line. And as always, knowledge is not power without application. So don't let this be something you just listen to. Allow it to be something that you execute and put into place. Continue to send your listener questions my way. These have been great, amazing, and I feel like they're going to be helpful because at any given moment, the same questions you have, there is definitely going to be someone else out there who has the same questions. As always, look below on the show notes so that you can see how we can stay connected. Join me live on Cadre, and we will connect soon.